Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. It was understandable that Yu Qinshu had offered Feng Zai a flood-grade weapon in exchange for the life heart. Regardless, Feng Zai did not dare to accept the offer. After all, even if he really obtained the flood-grade weapon, would he be alive to use it? He did not trust Yu Qinshu at all. However, no one expected the middle-aged man who had been hiding all this time to demand a flood-grade weapon without having any leverage. Jiantingzhong flew over and asked, "Who are you?" "It doesn't matter who I am." Lu Zhou grabbed Wei Junzi. He controlled his hand seal, clearly not intending of letting Wei Junzi go. Jiantingzhong said with a sneer, "Even if we were to give you the flood-grade weapon, do you really dare to use it?" Lu Zhou shook his head and said, "Is there any weapon in this universe I don't dare to use? It's considered very good that we plan to give you a heaven-grade weapon. Your appetite is really not small. How dare you ask for a desolate-grade weapon from the Sky Martial Court?" Jian Tingzhong said. A sizzling noise rang in the air at this moment. The sun seemed to be burning the place where Wei Junzi had smashed the green bottle. At this moment, green gas slowly rose up and moved toward Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou looked at the green grass that disguised itself as vitality energy and casually waved his hand. His energy blew the gas away. Upon seeing this, Wei Junzi said, "It's useless. This thing is very potent. The bottle I gave you contains a colorless and odorless potion that can dispel the gas. Let me go, and I'll help you resolve this." Lu Zhou shook his head and said indifferently, "I thought you were a talent and that I might be able to use you. Alas, there's a path to heaven for you, but you chose not to take it and barged into hell instead." Huh? The green gas continued moving toward Lu Zhou. Jiantingzhong said in a deep voice, "Let him go, and I'll spare your life." At this moment, a palm seal fell from the Void Sect's huge flying chariot. How noisy. Just end this with one palm strike. The palm strike was clearly intended for Lu Zhou. Everyone was certain of Lu Zhou's death at this moment. However, to everyone's surprise, Lu Zhou only flicked his left hand, and the palm seal vanished into thin air. All these super elites would have lived in vain if they still could not tell Lu Zhou was a super elite as well. Meanwhile, the fake vitality energy grew stronger and stronger. After a moment, a howl finally resounded from the depths of the valley. It's a gigantic beast. Could it be a birth chart beast? Everyone naturally no longer paid any attention to Lu Zhou. All their attention was focused on the cry of the beast. In just an instant, the three flying chariots moved, facing the direction where the noise came from. Another shrill cry resounded in the valley again at this moment. Everyone's hearts jolted. Even the cultivators and sects in the periphery who were looking for an opportunity to strike were shocked by this cry. Meanwhile, Feng Zai, who seemed as though he had been injured by a huge beast, flew up into the sky as he manifested his avatar. Naturally, the life heart was still in his possession. Attack. Buzz. Mo Bian and Jian Tianzhong instantly manifested their avatars as well and attacked at lightning speed. At the same time, a few 5-leaf and 6-leaf cultivators leaped out of the True Kunlun Sect's flying chariot at top speed as well. With this, how could the Void Sect stay idle? A few people from the sect rushed out as well. In just a second, the valley was filled with avatars. In fact, the majority of the avatars were 9-leaf avatars. There were only a few 8-leaf avatars that could be seen wandering at the edges of the valley. Due to the life heart, a fierce battle ensued. In front of such a treasure, chaos descended immediately. At this moment, Yu Qinshu asked in a deep voice, "Have you forgotten your agreement with me? Court Master Yu, if you want us to honor the agreement, then you'd better give us what you promised now. Who knew if you're just bragging? Isn't it wiser to obtain the life heart first and exchange it with the desolate grade weapons from you later?" "That's right, Court Master Yu. Our Void Sect won't snatch this from you. It'll be yours sooner or later." Crash. Yu Qinshu smashed the handle of his chair with just a strike. He was naturally not a fool. At this moment, a roar that sounded like it came from a tiger rang from the forest again. The volume was tens of thousand times stronger than before. Stones began to roll down the mountain wall of the Sky Will mountain range at this moment. Wei Junzi laughed. Quick, put me down. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape. Lu Zhou released his 5 fingers. Bang. With just a wave, he shattered Wei Junzi's protective barrier. Meanwhile, Wei Junzi fell and landed by Lu Zhou's feet. He tried to rise to his feet, but Lu Zhou raised his hand and pressed his palm down on Wei Junzi. You. Wei Junzi raised his arms to block the attack and struggled to free himself at the same time. The palm felt like a huge mountain pressing down on him. In the end, he could only lay on the ground helplessly. Bang. It's Buddhist palm seal. Are you a Buddhist? Wei Junzi asked in confusion as he widened his eyes. At this moment, Wei Junzi's companion, or his underling, cried out, "Boss, I'll save you." He wielded a dagger and moved swiftly as he tried to stab Lu Zhou's chest. Lu Zhou's expression remained calm as always. He did not even look at Wen Jiuxi's companion as he mobilized his energy and flicked his finger. Swoosh. Wei Junzi's companion flew back as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Zhou waved his hand again, and the small green bottle that was releasing green grass instantly flew toward Wei Junzi's companion before it exploded in front of him. With this, the green grass began to shift and moved toward him instead. Wei Junzi's face paled immediately as he cried out, "No." Lu Zhou said tonelessly, "Everyone has to pay the price for their actions. You're no exception." The green gas attached itself to the young man. The ferocious beast in the valley seemed to sense the fake vitality energy as it began to make its move. A loud thumping noise resounded in the valley. In the sky. Fengzai from the Heavenly Fire Sect was currently surrounded by many 9-leaf cultivators. He was trying to break through the encirclement. Alas, how could he put up a fight against so many 9-leaf cultivators? The cultivators around Fengzai were like a pack of wolves, they shredded his avatar into pieces in just an instant. Fengzai's eyes reddened as he cried out, "Fine. Let's die together. Keep dreaming." At this moment, a shadow streaked across his chest. Before Fengzai even had a chance to self-detonate, his Dantian and Sea of Qi had been destroyed by someone. Since it was too chaotic, he could not react in time and he could even see the culprit. Fengzai lowered his head and looked at his lower abdomen. Then, he grabbed the life heart and decisively threw it into the abyss. The life heart. Everyone exclaimed in unison. Fengzai chuckled weakly. Then, he closed his eyes in satisfaction and fell from the sky. Nobody paid attention to the dead Fengzai and scrambled toward the life heart in a frenzy. The 3 9-leaf experts unleashed their grand techniques and arrived near the life heart. Buzz. The trio hastily manifested their avatars and collided with each other. Boom. The force of the collision sent the life heart flying immediately. At this moment, Yuan'er, who was still sitting in the red flying chariot, said imposingly, "Kill those who oppose the Sky Martial Court without mercy." Understood. With this, Mo Bian and Jiantingzhong went on a massacring spree. They brought out their desolate grade weapons and began to attack the other 9-leaf cultivators. The Skywill mountain range was in complete chaos at this moment. Yuan'er. How dare you? A disgruntled voice rang from the Void Sect's flying chariot. Yuan'er stared unblinkingly at the valley, clearly wary of the approaching beast or beasts. He only said, "I gave all of you a chance, but none of you appreciated it. I hereby declare that our Sky Martial Court will annihilate the True Kunlun Sect and the Void Sect." You. Good. Very good. The Void Sect's huge flying chariot trembled slightly. It was obvious the person in the flying chariot was furious. The True Kunlun Sect that was in a similar situation with the Void Sect could only work with each other. At this moment, it seemed like everyone had forgotten about Lu Zhou. Not even the cultivators waiting outside of the valley like hyenas or the Crimson Sun Sect paid any attention to Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou glanced at Wei Junzi, who was lying on the ground, before he observed the situation in the valley. He did not make a move at all and only silently observed the chaos. All of a sudden, he felt it was not completely unreasonable that Si Wuya had been backstabbed in the past. Lu Zhou stood with his hands on his back. His expression was calm as he watched the fight. Just fight. Fight with all your might. At this moment, Wei Junzi chuckled and said, "What the point of all this? In the end, you won't gain anything as well." Lu Zhou could not be bothered to reply to Wei Junzi and continued observing the fight. In just a short while, another 2 9-leaf cultivators were dead. Lu Zhou thought nothing about the 9-leaf cultivators' battle. He wanted to see the fight between 10-leaf cultivators. Yuan'er, naturally, would let anyone who was a threat to his life go. He said to the trio from the Crimson Sun Sect, "If 3 of you help the Sky Marshal Court clean up the mess in the valley, each of you will be given a desolate grade weapon." The trio from the Crimson Sun Sect was naturally delighted. "Thank you, Senior Yu." Yuan'er looked around his surroundings. There were many other sects and cultivators around them. He muttered under his breath, "Where are the elites from Cloud Mountain hiding?" Meanwhile, Lu Zhou was as calm as always. Boom. 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 The sound of collision rang from the valley. It sounded as though a fierce beast was ramming the Skywheel Mountain range. Lu Zhou surveyed his surroundings and muttered, "Who else will come?" Just like Yuan'er, he did not care about the battle between the 9-leaf cultivators. In any case, the fuse had been lit, it was only a matter of time before the battle escalated. At this moment, the trio from the Crimson Sun Sect, who were also 9-leaf cultivators, landed behind Lu Zhou. Sun Jia took the lead and coldly said as he looked at Lu Zhou and Wei Junzi, "Hey, you've got nothing to do here. Hurry up and leave the Skywheel Mountain range. Otherwise, you'd be killed without mercy." Lu Zhou, who was still standing with his hands on his back, glanced at the trio before he asked, "Are you talking to me?" Sun Jia nodded. Then, he glanced at Wei Junzi, who was still lying on the ground. "Yes. That's enough. You heard what Courtmaster Yu said. Do you need us to do the work? Or are you going to leave on your own?" Lu Zhou continued watching the battle in front of him. Almost a third of the forest had been razed to the ground. Even such a deep and vast valley could withstand the strength of so many 9-leaf cultivators. Although the Sky Marshal Court's Mo Bian and Jiantingzhong each possessed a desolate grade weapon, due to the combined number of people from the True Kunlun sect and the Void sect, the battle had reached a stalemate. "Clean this mess up," Yuan'er said from the red flying chariot. The sound wave of his voice traveled 1,000 meters in the deepest part of the valley that was also the largest area of the valley. Just slightly ahead was an abyss. Meanwhile, the cultivators from the Crimson Sun Sect bowed at Yuan'er as they said in unison, "I'm willing to serve Courtmaster Yu." Lu Zhou did not move from his original position and continued to observe the battle from afar. Upon seeing no response from Lu Zhou, the trio from the Crimson Sun Sect exchanged a look. In the end, Sun Jia waved his hand after he said, "Pardon me." The other 2 9-leaf cultivators from the Crimson Sun Sect flashed and arrived at Lu Zhou's sides, each of them tried to grab his shoulders. Lu Zhou merely turned and released a surge of energy from his body. Bang! Just like that, the 2 cultivators from the Crimson Sun Sect were sent flying back. In front of cultivators with higher cultivation bases, the speed of those who were weaker naturally seemed incredibly slow. The duo had no time to react at all as they were sent flying with a horrified expression on their faces. Following that, Lu Zhou moved in between the duo and struck at the duo with his left and right hand. Bang! Bang! The duo immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. With just Lu Zhou's 10-leaf cultivation base and karmic fire, he did not even need to use his extraordinary power to shatter their protective energies and injure them. The 2 9-leaf cultivators did not have time to react at all. They flew past Sun Jia and crashed against a stone wall before sliding down to the ground. Cracks could be seen at the stone wall at this moment. The Crimson Sun Sect Sun Jia watched with his mouth agape. He looked at the middle-aged man, in shock and disbelief, his mouth felt incredibly dry at this moment. Lu Zhou stood in front of Sun Jie expressionlessly. Sun Jie gulped. His heart was racing in his chest. He could endure the oppressive aura and stumbled back before he fell to the ground. Similarly, Wei Junzi was also shocked by Lu Zhou's display of strength. Sun Jie trembled as he stammered, "As senior. It's a misunderstanding." Lu Zhou stood with his hands on his back as he looked at the four people around him. Then, he raised his head to look at the sky again as he said, "Even Yu Qinshu would be amazed by me if he were to meet me." Sun Jie and Wei Junzi. They did not know if Lu Zhou was bragging or not, but they knew, at this moment, their life was under his control. Meanwhile, the two people from the Crimson Sun sect who were injured by Lu Zhou's palm strike leaned against the stone wall and endured the burning pain from the karmic fire. They could acutely feel their lives slipping away. Sun Jie did not dare to move at all. He only looked at Lu Zhou warily and fearfully, his back was drenched in sweat. Above the valley of the Sky Wheel mountain range, Mo Bian and Jiantingzhong's battle continued to be the main attraction. At this moment, the duo from the Sky Martial Court who wielded a desolate grade weapon each had already killed 4 9-leaf cultivators. Boom. 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 The sounds of fighting and collision continued to ring in the valley. At this moment, a person flew out swiftly from the Void Sect's flying chariot. The Sky Martial Court has gone too far. Bang. Similarly, another person flew out from the True Kunlun Sect's flying chariot. It was a peerlessly beautiful woman with an alluring figure. She looked like a streak of rainbow as she flew out swiftly dressed in a colorful robe. At the same time, a person rushed out from the huge chariot of the True Kunlun sect at lightning speed. It was a woman. The 10-leaf elites have begun to make their moves. The cultivators around the Sky Wheel mountain range began to retreat upon seeing this. With the 10-leaf elites making a move, the destruction increased by several times. Meanwhile, Mo Bian and Jiantingzheng's expressions darkened when they saw the 10-leaf elites making a move. They did not hesitate as they turned tail and flew toward the red flying chariot. "Xian Chengzi, Mo Xinglu, I've given you a chance but you refuse to accept it." Boom. With this, Yu Qinshu finally flew out of the red flying chariot. As soon as he left the flying chariot, it dropped from the sky immediately. Yu Qinshu is finally making a move. Wei Junzi's eyes lit up immediately. On the other hand, Sun Jie was still in a daze. Alas, the duo had no idea how dangerous the middle-aged man standing next to them was. Yu Qinshu arrived behind Mo Bian and Jiantingzheng at lightning speed before he pushed his palm out. Xian Chengzi, the Taoist from the Void Sect, and Mo Xinglu from the True Kunlun Sect dealt with Yu Qinshu's palm strike from the left and the right respectively. Bang. Bang. 2 waves of energy surged out vertically. Boom. Just like that, one of the mountains was cleaved into 2. Meanwhile, the 9-leaf cultivators in the vicinity staggered backward, on the verge of collapse. The 3 9-leaf cultivators staggered backward and were on the verge of collapse. Yu Qinshu alone fought against 2 opponents as he asked, "Mo Bian, Jiantingzhong, why are you standing around in a daze?" Understood. The 2 elders wielded their desolate grade weapons and passed the 3 10-leaf elites, making their way to the group of 9-leaf cultivators. The Void Sect's Taoist, Xian Chengzi, glared at Yu Qinshu and asked, "Yu Qinshu, do you really think you're invincible?" Following that, Mo Xinglu said with a scoff, "Courtmaster Yu, it must be difficult to fight 2 opponents at the same time." Yu Qinshu calmly replied, "Indeed, I'm invincible." Whoosh. Yu Qinshu pushed his palm out as red karmic fire ignited, burning up vitality energy and energy at a rapid speed. Bang. Bang. Faced with this, Xian Chengzi and Mo Xinglu pushed their hands out and retreated in the air. Yu Qinshu moved toward Xian Chengzi slowly and expressionlessly. At the same time, a black object that looked like a 3-story pagoda appeared in his palm. The red energy raging around the black pagoda complemented each other. Meanwhile, Xian Chengzi joined his palms together before a red energy surged out of his body. He cried out, "Your attack is too direct and clumsy." An eye-catching round 8 trigram seal shining with red energy appeared in front of Qianchengzi immediately. The formidable seal sailed in the air toward Yu Qinshu immediately. Yu Qinshu remained calm. He calmly tossed the black object out. Suppress. When the black object came into contact with the 8 trigram seal, it cut through the seal like a hot knife through butter, destroying it before it continued on its trajectory toward Qianchengzi. Mo Xinglu exclaimed, "Run. It's a confinement seal." Yu Qinshu said coldly, "It's too late." The confinement seal suddenly increased in size. Qianchengzi began to frantically unleash energy seals. There were Taoist seals and runes, and even the dark Yin palm. Alas, they were all easily destroyed by the confinement seal. Soon enough, the confinement seal landed on Qianchengzi's chest, causing him to throw up blood. He felt his blood and qi surged in his body. He flew back like a kite with a broken string. Meanwhile, Mo Xinglu's expression turned grim as she flew to Qianchengzi's side. She was aware that she would not be a match for Yu Qinshu without Qianchengzi. Therefore, she could not let anything happen to Qianchengzi. Meanwhile, the confinement seal flew back to Yu Qinshu's hand, and he flew forward. Red karmic fire rose from his body and surged dozens of feet high. He did not chase after Mo Xinglu. Instead, he looked at the 9-leaf cultivators and shouted, "Scram!" Bang! 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 The confinement seal burning with red karmic fire flew toward the 9-leaf cultivators like a dazzling red dragon. The remaining 10 or so 9-leaf cultivators from the true Kunlun sect and the Void sect were sent flying in just a blink of an eye. Meanwhile, the cultivators outside of the valley were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. The flood-grade weapon is so strong. Not only is the flood-grade weapon strong, but don't you forget Yu Qinshu's 10-leaf cultivation base and his red karmic fire. There's no hope for us. Don't even bother going into the valley. Everyone had rushed here in hopes of gaining something. At this point, even if they could not obtain anything, they still could watch a rare large-scale battle between the heavyweights. Yu Qinshu's attack landed true. He stepped forward and raised his hand as the confinement seal flew back to his hand. Following that, the confinement seal reverted to a small black 3-story pagoda again. As the red karmic fire dissipated, Yu Qinshu said tonelessly, "Qianchengzi, Mo Xinglu, what are you going to do now?" After Mo Xinglu caught Qianchengzi, she hovered in the air 100 meters away from Yu Qinshu. At this moment, she looked at him as though he was a terrifying beast. Qianchengzi and Mo Xinglu knew Yu Qinshu was powerful, but his strength had far exceeded their expectations. Despite their similar cultivation bases, it felt as though Yu Qinshu was in a whole different league. At this moment, the 10 or so 9-leaf cultivators from the true Kunlun sect and the Void sect clutched their chests and looked at Yu Qinshu in shock and fear. In the end, Qianchengzi shook his head and said, "I've truly underestimated you, Yu Qinshu." Yu Qinshu did not respond to Qianchengzi. Instead, he extended his hand and said in a threatening tone, "The life heart." Currently, the life heart of the birth chart beast was in the possession of a 9-leaf cultivator from the true Kunlun sect. The 9-leaf cultivator looked at the life heart in his possession and hesitated. After all, how many people dreamed of possessing this thing? How many people would risk and had risked their lives for it? How could he not feel even the slightest bit unwilling now that he was asked to hand the life heart over?